Welcome in to the latest episode of Betting the Pitch, the European Soccer Edition. I'm your host, Real_G Warner, on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. This is a European soccer episode, as I just said. Going to go through the top 5 European soccer leagues. There's a very light slate in Spain, just the Copa del Rey final. So Spain will be quicker, but of course, getting you through the English Premier League, also Serie A, the German Bundesliga, and French League. And gonna put out an ultimate best bet end of show. My top bet, my top pick from at least one game from each of the leagues. And we'll start where the money is. If you're not following me yet, like I said, on all the socials at the Real_G Warner, also on Patreon, great spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups across all sports, including college basketball heading to the Final Four in just a couple hours. So there'll still be some college basketball picks out there. Really hoping for the big guys to match up, UConn and Purdue in the final. Also, we'll be putting out baseball plays. Got a bunch today. There's a bunch of day games as well. And there's also a huge pool gathering outside, and I'm just staring at bikinis left and right. So doing it for you all, doing it for the cause. So thank you for all the support over the years doing this podcast. If you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, that'd be huge. Plus subscribe on YouTube. And that will be my last ploy for that, or maybe not, rest of this show. We'll start in the English Premier League because that's where the money is. Crystal Palace are hosting Manchester City in the early matchup, preparing for Champions League next week. Crystal Palace, a 1.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice over unders 2 3/4, juice more to the over. Palace, they kind of let a game out of their grasp, which is a real total Palace thing to do with their performance on the road at Bournemouth. Took a lead, but a goal got disallowed, and unfortunately, Crystal Palace didn't do much scoring after that. Manchester City had to go on the road to hosted Aston Villa, but then have Real Madrid on their minds coming up in Champions League next week. So good question about exactly how far Manchester City will go for this. I mean, they want to win the Premier League, they want to win Champions League, they want to win everything basically. But there is probably a measured approach here. I imagine they want to get ahead early so they can try to take some and use some substitutes. But every minute that Manchester City doesn't take that lead, the harder this gets. I think it's hard for me to want to play unders of the Manchester City and really to fade them as well, though Crystal Palace certainly a lot better at home than they are anywhere else. Neutral and road, of course. But I'm interested in the 1.5 at home on Crystal Palace, so I really worry about them scoring. So I think my bigger interest is under 2 3/4 here, waiting for that 3 to pop. Fulham then hosts Newcastle in that 10 a.m. Eastern time window here in the United States. Fulham, a quarter goal favorite, more juice, or almost all of it about all of it on Newcastle right now, a quarter goal underdog on the road. Over under here is 3 1/4, juiced more heavily to under than to over. And Fulham, to me, I mean, it's hard to say teams quit, but they seem like a team that might be on the beach. Finishing mid-table, don't really have a lot going for them. Defense has been horrible against Sheffield United, and then also against Nottingham Forest. We saw a triple 32-minute substitution first half, showing Marco Silva's opinion of his players, and unfortunately, you can't rip the whole team off at that point. But not a great showing, and Newcastle, they've been really bad on the road, but this is a perfect opportunity, I think, for them to really change that I guess that stigma. I like Newcastle getting that quarter of a goal. I like under 3 1/4. I feel like Fulham probably respond defensively, and Newcastle, I mean, can't be much worse on the road or have much more drastic road splits. It is hard for me, especially after watching Fulham concede so many goals recently, to not really play or to play an under with them. So I think Newcastle getting a quarter goal is my biggest interest there. Aston Villa then hosts Brentford. Villa, a 3/4 goal favorite at home with almost all the juice. Over under is 3, juiced all the way to over. Might see this hit 3 1/4. I don't give Brentford much of a chance. They've been horrible ever since a really easy start to the season. Their schedule really worked out at the beginning. They didn't take advantage of it, and they should be fighting relegation if not for all the teams getting points deducted next to them for financial fair play. Villa have been really good at home, but not as good lately. I don't really know what to do with this one, so I'll probably skip it. Everton then hosts Burnley. Currently, Everton a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4. Juice very heavily to under. Might see 2.5 before this kicks off. Burnley, I thought, played really well against Wolves. Really took advantage of a Wolves team that didn't have much offensively. Now they go to Everton. It's going to be a much different type of job, not having their home crowd behind them. But at the same time, I think they're in a good position to make this a really tough game for Everton. And Everton haven't been scoring much. So I'm interested in that 3/4 of goal. I want to see it hit 1 before I play it. So we'll wait Saturday morning for that. But like under 2 3/4 at the current price. Luton Town then hosts Bournemouth. Currently, Luton a half a goal underdog at home. Over under here 3 1/4. Juice more to under and a little bit more to Bournemouth as a road favorite. I don't believe in Bournemouth at this point. Their goal scoring has been very, very meager, anemic. You could almost say their offense got a win against Crystal Palace, but really didn't do much. Had one breakthrough essentially. Luton Town have been scoring. Were a real dead under team to start the season. Have been scoring a ton more lately. My biggest interest here is Luton getting that half of a goal, and I guess under 3 1/4, but it's really hard to play any sort of total under with Luton Town at this point. Moving next to Wolves hosting West Ham. Currently, Wolves a pick 'em with all the juice over unders 2 3/4, juice more to under than to over. I don't understand why Wolves are a favorite here. They are at home. They have a great home support, but they have no healthy players, no attackers really to speak of, and I think West Ham will take advantage of that. So West Ham as a pick 'em. Probably won't put that on my best bet card, but also like under 2 3/4. I just don't think the home favorite has much firepower, can do much offensively besides score maybe a fortunate set piece. Moving next to Brighton hosting Arsenal. Looks like the last game on Saturday. Currently Brighton a 1 goal underdog with all the juice. Over under is 2 3/4, juice all the way to over. Brighton's going to go for it. They always do. I like getting a full goal at home from a home underdog. I don't really have much interest in a total here because I'm an under player, as anyone who listens to this podcast knows. And I'm not really sure that I want to get too deep involved with hoping that Brighton will keep balls out of the back of their net, especially seeing as a full goal underdog at home. But I do like that side, so I'll put Brighton down +1 as my best bet in that matchup. Moving to Sunday, Manchester United hosts Liverpool, a rematch of a crazy FA Cup tie just a few weeks ago, I think right before the international break. Manchester United 1 goal underdog with a little bit more juice. Over under 3.5, juice all the way to over. That match, I mean, it went over with a late goal in the final stretches, essentially. I don't believe that there's going to be a lot more goals. I think Manchester United still play a very defensive brand, knowing that Liverpool are a lot better, and Liverpool have title pressure on them, while Manchester United certainly have pressure to try to get into Champions League place. I'm not really sure that Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag are listening to anyone and changing their style. So I like that +1. The full goal of insurance at home at Old Trafford is pretty great. And the under 3.5, I think, is also very interesting. Next, we go to Sheffield United hosting Chelsea. Currently, Sheffield United 1.5 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over under 3.5, juice all the way to under. Chelsea, big road favorite, doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. It's hard for me to want to back Sheffield United at this point, but that's the way I lean. It's gross, but 1.5 goals from a Chelsea side that I don't trust. I'll put that on my list, and also under 3.5. Last but not least, in England, we have Tottenham hosting Nottingham Forest. Currently, Tottenham a 1.5 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Nottingham Forest on the road. Over under 3 1/4, juice all the way to over. And as sick as it makes me feel, I have some interest in fading Tottenham. They seem to pour on late goals at home. They do it more there in that venue than anywhere else. But Nottingham Forest has been playing really well. Nuno Espirito Santo is he's going to try to grind this one out, I think, especially on the road. I think I'm more interested in the side than the under 3 1/4, but they're correlated. Less goals is better for the big road underdogs. So I guess I'll put both Nottingham Forest +1.5 and under 3 1/4 on my list, though it's very scary to play any sort of under with Tottenham, considering the chances they surrender, concede, and I don't really love that type of setup for an under, because a lot of times it feels like unders are a winning bet from the start, but they can go very wrong very quickly, and can especially go wrong at the end of matches in stoppage time. So I'm trying to maybe minimize my risk a little bit in those type of situations. As for my best bet in England for this weekend, I think it's got to be that Manchester United under 3.5 goals. Two teams that I think are going to perform far below those standards and what this total is suggesting. Plus, they just saw each other. Not a lot of secrets can remain at this point. Moving next to the Spanish Copa del Rey, just one match to speak of, as the entire league is off, which is crazy to me, but I guess respectful of their Cup for the King. Athletic Club Bilbao. I think this match is played in Sevilla, at least it's a neutral site. But Athletic Club a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice right now. Over under is 2 1/4. Juice very heavily to under -130 as we speak. Mallorca are going to go in and try their best to keep this as low scoring as possible. I'm waiting to see when we get that full goal of insurance, as this number is about what I made it on the side, but the juice certainly suggests we might get that full full one. And I like that idea. I think Mallorca play this really tight, and I don't see many goals in this matchup. I think it's going to be really hard for Mallorca to score. So it makes it especially tough to not get a full goal of insurance. But I like my best bet here, and I think it's a pretty easy call, is Mallorca under 2.25 goals. Might fall to 2, and that will certainly be a better odds situation than the -130 currently offered at BetOnline and SportsBetting.ag, which, if you're not a member there yet, there are links in the podcast description to go join, get free $500 up to $500 100% match. If you put in $500, you get 500 for sportsbetting.ag. If you're at Bet Online, join with any sort of, I think you get a 50% match for your first time deposit. I know sportsbetting.ag will work twice, so go check that out if you're not a member of either of those sites. Best time to get more outs, especially if you're playing baseball alongside with me at Patreon, because the juices at the local books and the I guess state-run places are incredibly bad compared to what you see from these online sports books that I think treat you a lot better anyway. So that will, I guess, do it for that Spanish Copa del Rey side, or I guess portion of the show. I'll move now to Serie A in Italy, which we do have a Friday match. It's about to kick off in just 3 minutes. I was trying to get this podcast on the way earlier, but thank you all for tuning in. If you're live, maybe you can throw in the under 2.5 in the Salernitana Sassuolo match, which is about to start. That's my interest there. I'm actually just going to play it right now as we're speaking. So if you give me a second, I got to lock this bad boy in. I was hoping to get 2.75, but I'll take the +105 right now offered at sportsbet.ag slash bet online. As I don't think there's a lot of goals. Sassuolo were really not prepared for a relegation fight this season. Well, they're in one. They also lost their best player. That's a big problem for them. I don't really see them scoring goals much, and Salernitana is one of the worst teams in Serie A that somehow they won't die. But they're still there for now. So give me Sassuolo under 2.5. Is about to kick off. Hopefully the those of you that are with me right now, you can maybe throw that in there and hopefully make some money while we're actually recording. We'll now move to I guess the rest of the Italian card. We'll start with, I guess we'll go to Friday. Or no, today is Friday. Oh my gosh, sorry. Clearly betting and talking at the same time is not one of my skills. I thank you all for putting up with me so far, because I think I've been developing some skills over and over again, and maybe the bikinis outside of my balcony are on my mind as well. Okay, we're back. Let's go through the Italian card, and we'll start with Saturday action. So we got AC Milan hosting Lecce. Currently, Milan a 1.25 goal favorite at home with all the juice over unders 2.75, juice more to over. So Lecce, I mean, they're to me a really good fighting underdog that have had more goal scorers than you'd expect from a smaller club in the Puglia region out east in Italy. I've been there once. Lecce, I'm waiting to see them climb to a 1.5 underdog, waiting to see if this hits 3. I just don't really know if I want to fade Milan. They've been playing really well. It's been frustrating because they find goals that really shouldn't exist, I feel. But Lecce going on the road to the Italian capital is a big concern. I guess that's not the capital, but I guess a business district, a financial capital maybe in Milan. Certainly the fashion capital. Leave it at that. But I guess I'll put Lecce on my list as a possibility. I just don't know if I really want too much to do with this current number. And I think I want that push on 3 to basically back Lecce in a low-scoring match if I play under there. Roma then hosts Lazio, a big Roman derby at the Stadio Olimpico. Hopefully they fixed their turnstiles and how they scan tickets, because mine literally did not work for the first 5 minutes. Heard Roma score in a Europa League match from outside, and that was really horrible. But I did, I guess, see Romelu Lukaku score later in the match, so I didn't miss everything. But Roma currently a 1/4 goal favorite in their shared stadium. More juice on the Roma side. Over under here is 2.25, juice more to the under than to the over. And that's the way I lean. I think Lazio have proven that they're competitive. They did play Copa Italia midweek, the first leg against Juventus on the road. So that's a little bit tough of a scenario. Certainly better, more rested legs on the Roma side. But I like Lazio getting that 1/4 goal in that shared stadium. I think I'm more interested in under 2.25 there. Empoli then hosts Torino. Currently Empoli a 1/4 goal underdog at home. More juice on Torino on the road. Over under is 2. And that one is juice more to over than to under. Empoli have been playing really well. Unfortunately, ran into Inter Milan, which really kind of stunted their or really stopped their streak, but they played really competitively, didn't deserve a 2-0 loss. It looked a lot worse, that scoreline, than they actually played. I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Torino. They control the ball going on the road. It's going to be tough for them to score, and they don't score very efficiently anyway with a lot of possession. So give me, I guess I'm interested in Empoli getting that quarter of a goal on the road, and what I expect to be a low scoring match. I can see this finishing goalless, but I think I like under 2 more in that one on Saturday evening in Italy. Moving to Sunday, Frosinone hosts Bologna. Currently, Frosinone a half a goal underdog at home with more of the juice. Over just 2.5. Juice a little bit more to under. Frosinone don't trust their offense whatsoever. Don't really trust Bologna's offense as much either, but they're way up in the table, potentially threatening a Champions League position, and it's because of their great defense. Now, Frosinone's defense has improved lately because they've had to do that, or else they wouldn't be anywhere near surviving this league. They're fighting relegation. I think Bologna go on the road. It's going to be tough for them to score. So give me Frosinone under 2.5 is my interest in that early one on Sunday morning. Monza then hosts Napoli. Currently, Monza a half a goal underdog at home. Almost all the juice of Napoli on the road, over under 2.5. Juice all the way to over. Napoli have been playing really poorly. They have a third manager, I think, this season who's splitting time with Slovakia, which is super bizarre, and don't see that literally everywhere, anywhere besides on FIFA. If you're not following my YouTube season of Sport Club Freiburg from Germany, go check that out. The real_G Warner on YouTube, also everywhere. The worst tag and handle possible, but it's what I got. It's what I'm staying with. So Monza is my interest here. I like that half of a goal. I also like under 2.5, just fading Napoli in general. And Monza, they were scaring me as a team that I just didn't want to play unders with. But I think they've played a little bit more pragmatically ever since realizing they've lost a lot of talent. They can't play the same way. Cagliari then hosts Atalanta. Currently, Cagliari a 3/4 goal underdog with more juice at home. Over under is 2 3/4. Juice all the way to under. Cagliari going to do their best to try to keep Atalanta out. Atalanta had Coppa Italia midweek on the road at Fiorentina and Firenze. Now they go to the island down south. Going to be kind of a tough situation for them. I don't know if I want Cagliari until I'm getting a full goal. But I guess along those lines, I like under 2 3/4 because I think we might see Atalanta because they're also preparing for Europa League. And I mean, there's a lot of things going on with Atalanta right now. So I guess I'll put Cagliari on the list. 3/4 of goal. Would love to get one. Also like under 2 3/4 in that one. Verona then hosts Genoa. Pick them right now. Verona with slightly more juice. Over under is 2, juice to under. And Verona matches have not been seeing many goals. Genoa certainly look like the better team. So I'm interested in that side if they climb to an underdog, but at Pick'em, it's probably easy for me to avoid. And Verona have been playing very well ever since they basically sold everything that wasn't bolted down at the January window. I think nothing for me to do yet with Genoa, but I'll put under 2 on my list. Last matchup on Sunday is Juventus hosting Fiorentina, both coming off Coppa Italia midweek. Juve, a half a goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 2 1/4. Juice more to under than to over. Fiorentina going to try to possess the ball. Juventus is going to try to kill this matchup as soon as possible, try to take a lead and then win 1-0. It's not a good strategy. It hasn't worked in any sort of league ever, but that's Massimiliano Allegri's style, and he's not changing for me, that's for sure. I'll put under 2 1/4 on my list for that matchup. And last but not least, Udinese hosts Inter Milan on Monday. Udinese a 1 1/4 goal underdog at home with all the juice. Over unders 2 3/4. Juice more to under. I'm just not really in a position where I want to fade Inter at this point. If anything, I do under, but I don't even think I really want that at this point. 2 3/4 is pretty high for Udinese. They're not going to score much, but Inter certainly can. It's probably an ugly matchup, and I don't think I want much to do with that. For my best bet in Italy for this weekend, the April 5th weekend, I will go with that Fiorentina under 2 1/4 goals. Next, we'll move to the German Bundesliga. We did have a match today that's already kicked off. Unfortunately, that will not be covered on this podcast, but definitely bet Werder Bremen and also the under in that matchup, as I'm really not a believer in Eintracht Frankfurt at this point, and they're going to have to prove a lot more to me than they have currently. But moving to Saturday, we've that big early window as per tradition. I think it's like a 3:30 local time in Germany. Went to one of those matches for Dortmund hosting Schalke 04 in the second division now. But ultimately a big matchup, big derby, and it was a super fun game. I'm glad I did. Looking now at the Saturday card, we start with Mainz hosting Darmstadt. Currently, Mainz, if my computer would react, Mainz a 1 1/4 goal favorite at home after Darmstadt with above a goal underdog on the road at Bochum last week as well. Mainz are in the relegation battle, but have been getting some better results. Basically, Mainz and Köln, whoever wins more matches down the stretch will get that 16th relegation playoff side, or the Relegation, as they call it in Germany, while the other will go automatically down to the Schweizer Liga, and that's going to be tough. But I think from my perspective, I'm interested in Darmstadt. I think that they are. I mean, they have some really bad performances out there. That's for sure. A lot of bad tape. But getting more than a goal from a mind side that can't score is very interesting. I'm not sure that the desire really makes that big of an impact. Also like under 2 3/4 because I don't see a lot of goals in this one. Same sort of reasoning. Heidenheim then hosts Bayern Munchen. Finally, I think giving up on their title claims. At least Thomas Tuchel said so. Their manager. Heidenheim 1.5 goal underdogs at home. Over unders 3.5. Juiced pretty heavily to over. Kind of feels like a small total for Bayern, I got to say. So they were clean sheeted at home. First loss against Dortmund in I think a decade. I expect Bayern Munich to come out pretty aggressively. Heidenheim's not really a sit back and defend type of side. So don't really know what to do there. I guess if you're backing streaks, you want to go Heidenheim 1.5 and under 3.5. But I think I'm more interested in the home dog than anything, and that's probably not a big interest. Union Berlin then hosts Bayer Leverkusen. Currently Union a 1 goal underdog at home. Juice is split both ways. Over unders 2.5. Juice all the way to over. I don't see goals in this matchup. Union are going to play as defensively as possible. Bayer Leverkusen seem to get these. I mean, what a charmed life they're living. Xavi Alonso now staying, but that didn't really result in an incredible effort. Still had to come back from a 1-0 deficit, 1-2-1 on 2 late goals. I think Union do a really great job. I don't want to lose that +1 goal of insurance, but I think there's a good chance that they could potentially even end Bayer Leverkusen's unbeaten streak. But I think there's a good chance this is more of a draw. So I like that +1. I like under 2.5 as well. FC Köln then hosts VfL Bochum. Currently Köln a quarter goal favorite at home. More juice on Bochum on the road. Over under 2.5. Juice all the way to over. Köln there. It's hard to see them as a favorite because they can't score goals. They weren't able to add anything at the January transfer window for a transfer ban. So they're really doing the best they can with what they got. Bochum are not good on the road, but as an underdog, it interests me. Anything going against Cologne, I think my biggest interest is under 2.5 in that one. At Sport Club Freiburg then hosts RB Leipzig. Currently Freiburg a 3/4 goal underdog at home. More juice on Leipzig on the road. Over under is 3. Juice all the way to over. Almost all the way. Leipzig, they've not been very good this year. Came off a goalless draw with Mainz. I don't really understand why they're this big of a favorite on the road at Freiburg. Though Freiburg have not had great success with Leipzig or really the top of the Bundesliga table sides for a while. I think this is too much for Leipzig. This is a price that Leipzig would be giving in previous years when they were a lot better. They're not that same team anymore. And Christoph, whatever, Strike, the manager. I don't know why I'm blanking on the manager of the team I follow the closest is named. He's retiring end of season, and it's a big deal, I think, for the Freiburg crowd to try to deliver him some results to get also in Europe and keep that selling club in great financial stead, like under 3 there as well. For the top spiel, the Saturday night match, we have Borussia Dortmund hosting VfB Stuttgart. Currently, Dortmund a quarter goal favorite at home. More juice on Stuttgart on the road. Over under is 3.5. Juice very heavily to under. I don't understand where this number really comes from. I guess it's maybe preparing for Dortmund playing Champions League next week. But Stuttgart only a quarter goal underdog after Dortmund won at Bayern Munchen as a 1.5 goal underdog seems really wild to me. Total here at 3.5, I guess makes some sense because ultimately these two teams are very capable of scoring goals, but I feel like Dortmund have kind of changed into more a defensive team. They've been doing better or getting better results on the defensive side than they have on the offensive side. So I'm interested, I guess, in the really short price. I've kind of learned with short underdogs on the road, especially across the top 5 European soccer leagues, usually someone knows something there. I don't know with suspensions or what that lineup's going to look like from Dortmund, but I'm very curious to see what it looks like. And I guess I'll lean under 3.5, though I think I'm probably more interested in the Stuttgart side because they're not a team that's going to play a lot of great defense. They want to outscore you. Moving to Sunday, Hoffenheim takes on Augsburg. Currently Hoffenheim a quarter goal favorite at home. More juice on Augsburg on the road. Over under 3.25. Juiced more to the under than to the over. And I like the road team here. Augsburg getting a quarter of a goal against an empty, dead Hoffenheim crowd that never has anyone show up. Still leaning to under 3.25, though certainly Hoffenheim's defense does not do a lot for that. And last but not least, VfL Wolfsburg hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Currently Wolfsburg a 0.5 goal favorite with more juice. Over unders 2 3/4. Juice all the way to over. Probably see this one climb to 3. I guess it's a decent spot to potentially play under. Ralf Hasenhüttl took advantage of a very suspended Werder Bremen side last week that basically were missing their most important pieces. I'm not sure that's going to matter too much, or I'm not sure what to take away from that. though it certainly was important for them to get some sort of good result because it's been so long since Wolfsburg had won. That's why Niko Kovac was terminated. But I think, or sacked is probably the way I should say it on a soccer podcast. My bad. But I think just from my perspective on this matchup, I don't really trust Wolfsburg. Gladbach have been so bad away. I think my biggest interest here is under 3, but we don't have that yet. So I'll be waiting to see what happens and don't really have much to add to my list. For my best bet from the German Bundesliga before we move to France, I'm going to go with the Augsburg getting a quarter of a goal on the road at Hoffenheim. I think they have a very good chance to get a draw, and I think they could even win. I'm not a believer in Hoffenheim, and their home performances or lack thereof has certainly explained all of that. Moving now to Ligue 1 in France, our last portion of the show, then I'll come out of here with the ultimate best bet from the top 5 European soccer leagues. We'll start with Lille and Marseille. Match starts in 4 minutes. I am playing Marseille, half of a goal underdog. Just feel like it's too big. It's saying that Lille are better on a neutral field, and I don't really think that they are. Marseille are rotating or at least trying some new players after a disappointing Le Classique loss to PSG last weekend. Especially down when PSG were down to 10 men. But I think Marseille give them a good chance to win this matchup. So I'm interested in that side. I'll take that half of a goal on Olympique de Marseille. Total at 2.5. I guess I lean to under, if anything, but two teams that can certainly score. Wouldn't be shocked about a 2-2 or something like that. Racing Club de Lens then hosts Le Havre on Saturday. Looks like Lens a 1-goal favorite at home. Choose to split both ways. Over under is 2.5. Choose heavily to under. So Lens are to me the better side. Le Havre have been really struggling. They haven't been able to score goals at all, and that's certainly Lens' strength. I think it's going to be a lot of defense, and that's the only way I could be interested. I'm concerned about the road underdog, but I like under 2.5 there. PSG then hosts Clermont Foot in the Sunday nightcap. We got PSG a 2-goal favorite with all the juice. Over unders 3.5. Juice all the way to over. PSG with Champions League coming up, of course. I'm not sure if it's this week upcoming or the next, but Clermont, I'm just not really a believer whatsoever in their ability to score goals, and that's usually good for unders, but I think it really causes a problem where PSG could name their score. So I don't think I even want to put 3.5 on my list, despite one team very unlikely to score or do much offensively. We'll move now to where am I going next? Just lost my place. We'll move now to Sunday. We have Stade Brestois hosting Football Club de Metz. Currently, Brest a 1-goal favorite with more juice. Over unders 2.25. Juice similarly with a little bit more juice there as well. Let's see. Let's get back to where I was. Okay, so I think Metz, they're a defensive side fighting relegation. They don't have much ability to score goals. Sabra have been doing a great job. Brest have not really conceded any sort of goals. It's similar to Le Havre. I don't really love the road underdog as much as I like the road under here. So give me Metz under 2.25 in that matchup, early one on Sunday. Montpellier then hosts Lorient. Montpellier a 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Lorient on the road. Over unders 2.75. Juiced a little bit more to under than to over. Lorient, not a great side. Of course, they're fighting relegation as well. Montpellier, we're doing the same, but have gotten some recent results that I think have helped them. I think Lorient are going to try to keep this as close as possible, as you would expect for a road team fighting relegation. I just don't really think that Lorient do a ton to threaten Montpellier's goal. Lorient finds some goals, and their matches sometimes are very high scoring, though I don't really expect them to be that way too often. So I like under 2.75 in that one. Stade Reims then host Olympique Gymnastique Club de Nice. Currently, Reims a 1/4 goal favorite, but all the juice on Nice on the road. Over unders 2.5. Juice all the way to under. I don't see a lot of goals in this one. Reims are the goal scoring side. Nice are not. I think Nice had 2 penalties in 5 minutes in the second half last weekend to send their match over. I wouldn't expect that too much. Reims, I think, are potentially better, but they haven't had a great 2024. My biggest interest here is in that Olympique Gymnastique Club de Nice under 2.5. A lot of unders I'm expecting in France so far. Toulouse then hosts Strasbourg. Currently, Toulouse a 1/2 goal favorite, playing very well in 2024. Strasbourg finally get a win before the international break. Have not been playing great. Toulouse a 1/2 goal favorite. All the juice on Strasbourg on the road. Over under here is 2.5. Juice more to over. I don't really know what to do with this one. I like Toulouse a lot better than Strasbourg. I don't really like the road underdog here. And Strasbourg's defense has been pretty leaky, though the Toulouse goals seem like they're always very fortunate. I think my biggest interest here is another under. That's Strasbourg under 2.5, though I'm not sure I'm clinging to it too much. Association Sportive de Monaco then hosts Stade Rennais Football Club. Looks like Monaco a 3/4 goal favorite. All the juice on Rennes on the road. Over under here is 3. Juice more to over than to under. And that makes sense in Monaco matches. There's usually goals scored in them. Hard to really trust a lot, I think, in that sort of situation. Rennes, I mean, big price here. 3/4 of goal is probably bigger than they deserve, but coming off a Coupe de France match with PSG midweek, not great position for them rest wise. Don't really want to do any sort of unders with Monaco at this point, unless I have a really good feel that the opposing team's going to clamp down, like when Le Havre play them or something like that. So I'll put Rennes 3/4 of the goal as my biggest interest there. And the last matchup before we get to ultimate best bet, we have Football Club de Nantes hosting Olympique Lyonnais, currently Nantes, a 1/4 goal favorite at home. More juice, over unders 2.25, juice all the way to over. So maybe we see 2.5 here. Nantes were involved in that Nice matchup last week that had 2 penalties in like 7 minutes to send it over. I wouldn't expect that sort of thing to happen again. I think from a Nantes perspective, I'm interested in, I mean, they brought in Antoine Comboire, former manager who had won the Coupe de France with them a couple seasons ago. Didn't deserve to get sacked, in my humble opinion, but I guess they just sack people in soccer at this point. Lyon as a road favorite isn't something I want necessarily, so I like that 1/4 of a goal at home, and I also like under 2.25 right now, which I think will be 2.5 before we get to kickoff. For my best bet in France, I'm going to go with that Nice under 2.5 goals. And we have a lot of unders on this potential card for the ultimate best bet. So thank you all for tuning in. Of course, those of you that have been with me this whole time, I appreciate that immensely, especially if you've been with me the whole time, like going back years. If you haven't given the podcast a 5-star review, please do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Also subscribe on YouTube. You could subscribe on or follow me on Reels or on Instagram at @the_real_G Warner. Same YouTube, of course, for shorts. Got a lot of podcast content coming out. Of course, I'm still with pregame doing college basketball stuff occasionally now. It's the end of the season, but doing baseball stuff with Munaf Meji. Also got a baseball podcast on this network, Betting the Pitch, with at A Brooks Bets. We're 4-0 on our best bets in the first 2 episodes. We'll be doing Tuesday night episodes going forward. Make sure you write something in the comments if you want us to cover something other than the individual games. We're going game by game, similar to what I do in pregame as well. Just want to give you the whole card and give you what we're thinking. And I think it's a really good practice mechanism for me to kind of get an idea of what I like. Also, any tips, comments, questions, anything, feel free to sign DMs at A Brooks Bets, at @the_real_G Warner, anywhere you want. We also have a Need for Seeds college basketball episode coming out later today with at Big East Ben, live from Phoenix or Glendale, depending on where our hotel room is. We'll see if we can get on the court for that one. Doubt it, but we'll see. I've been teasing that for a while, but it doesn't really seem like we got the connections that we were hoping for. Other than that, you'll still see my stuff coming out at pregame, so follow along there. Of course, thank you for the subscribers there. But if you're not checking out my Patreon, you really should. Best spot, I know college basketball is wrapping up, and that's a big win or fall for a lot of people coming in to follow me. But there's plenty of baseball stuff coming out, 162 games worth for each team. So that's going to be going a long summer. Plus, we have the Euro coming up this summer, where international soccer has seemed to be my bread and butter at this point. I'm just trying to survive the club leagues and have some good weekends mixed in with minimizing some damage on others. But the international game is certainly where I shine. I had a really good 60% type of season in the World Cup in Qatar a couple years ago, I guess. I don't even remember when that was, because they changed the name and the number so many times. But make sure you follow me on Patreon or check me out. It's a very low price, especially if you're subscribed to other places, to get all my leans, write-ups, and you get all my plays there, as opposed to one per day at pregame. So go check that out. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. So I guess it's time for the ultimate best bet. Thank you all for hanging in and hanging on as long as you have. And we'll get into it right now. Might as well. This is the @real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. It's the ultimate best bet for betting the pitch, the European Soccer Edition, covering the top 5 European soccer leagues across the sport. And if you're not a member of Patreon, check it out. Patreon.com/real_G Warner. Best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups across all sports, baseball and soccer included. And follow this channel, Betting the Pitch, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Good spot to get all the podcasts that are coming out: college basketball, baseball, soccer, everything all in one place. And you get a subscribe to notifications. You might even see something when I put something out there. But for the English Premier League, I like Manchester United under 3.5 goals. In La Liga in Spain, Spanish Copa del Rey, I like Mallorca under 2.25 goals. in that final there. In Ligue 1 in France, I like Olympique Gymnastique Club de Nice under 2.5 goals. In the German Bundesliga, I like Augsburg getting a quarter of a goal. And in Serie A in Italy, I like Fiorentina under 2.25. But for the ultimate best bet, go Manchester United under 3.5 goals. Don't think we'll see a late winner or late equalizer to kill the total like it did last time. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all on the Need for Seats College Basketball podcast or that Big East Bend later today, assuming the flight goes safely. If not, this is the last podcast I've ever done. So let's hope that works out. See you all soon. And thanks for the support. Make sure you follow on all the platforms and make sure you check out patreon.com/real_G Warner.